But, you know, John McCain has put out concerns. There are other senators who will have a say in this at a confirmation hearing who said they want to know more about Tillerson's relationship with Russia.
Yeah.
So then the question of who the deputy will be, who the #2 position in state will be. John Bolton is the man reportedly under consideration by Trump for that job at the State Department. He said over the weekend that he believes the hacks into the DNC
Richard's
during the
already
election,
shaking his head.
What's wrong with this guy?
Well,
could
that's
have been
a
a
good
diversion
question.
by the Obama administration.
It's not at all clear to me, just viewing this from the outside, that this hacking into the DNC and the RNC computers was not a false flag operation. Let's remember what FBI Director James Comey said dealing with Hillary's homebrew server. He said, "We found no direct evidence of Foreign Intelligence Service penetration, but given the nature of this, we didn't expect to." So the question that has to be asked is, why did the Russians run their smart intelligence service against Hillary's server, but their dumb intelligence services against the election? I believe that intelligence has been politicized in the Obama administration to a very significant degree.
Richard, he tried to clean this up, but just outrageous. Outrageous claim by John Bolton. A guy who supported the invasion of Iraq in 2003 still thinks it's a great idea today. A guy who wrote an op-ed for the New York Times last year saying, let's blow up Iran. A guy that just doesn't see a war that he doesn't support. The complete opposite of Donald Trump in every way. The ideologue here over the weekend suggesting that it was not the Russians who hacked in, it was Barack Obama.
See, what's so interesting about this year is just when you think your capacity for surprise has been exhausted, somebody says something and you go, wow, that's
Where
just...
did that come from?
My imagination didn't come close to that.
How outrageous is that? Talk about
on the
fake
outrageous
news.
scale, it's pretty high. Look, can I say one thing about this Russian investigation?
Well, I'd rather you talk about John Bolton for a second. Is John Bolton, especially for Rex Tillerson, who hasn't been in state, is John Bolton, and I know you need to be careful, but would some say that John Bolton would be the worst selection to make as Rex Tillerson's #2 at the State Department?
You want to be careful in answering the question that way.
Yes.
It would not, look, John brings to it a range of positions that I, for one, do not agree with. Whether it's
bombing the world?
Whether it's on Iraq or abrogating the Iran agreement. In general, he has a suspicion of international institutions and arrangements and a confrontational approach with the world.
And still thinks that invading Iraq was a good idea.
And it just seems a lot of this at variance with the idea that you want to have a more stable world, in part so you can focus on rebuilding America. I just don't see how it gels with the intellectual or political thrust.
And Nick, how about a more stable State Department? Because you have the Secretary of State that's going to be gone 2/3 of the time, and you need somebody that can actually run the bureaucracy at home while Rex Tillerson is across the globe.
Well, he's the opposite of Rex Tillerson, which is why it's so weird. I mean, tension is good, I guess, you know, for a team of rivals, but this is Alex Jones territory.
Yeah.
To talk about a false flag operation. Well, why would Barack Obama want Hillary Clinton to have her emails leaked?
Right.
It hurt her terribly. He endorsed her. It's just nonsense.
It is. You know, I think Donald Trump's getting pressured by...
by who? Like what?
By neocons, the people that are opposite of him, from Sheldon Adelson especially, loves this guy Bolton. So this is a Sheldon Adelson thing. It would be an absolute disaster for the State Department. It would be a disaster for the incoming Secretary of State, whoever it was, and it would be a disaster for the Trump administration and for America. But other than that, Willie, I don't really have an opinion on it, so I'm going to just sit back and see how it goes.
Well, I invite...
But disaster actually fits John Bolton in this position.
Well, let's hope. We've all said that Donald Trump is the last guy in the room, right? He trusts himself above all.
Yeah.
Let's hope he trusts himself not to put this guy in. I invite our viewers to go back and read John Bolton's comments, recent comments about the Iraq War, and see what they think about what he might do with Iran or another country like that. He believes, despite everything we know about Iraq, that it was still a good idea to go in, that the world was better because Saddam Hussein is not in it, and that's enough for him.
And Trump campaigned against that. He campaigned against it constantly. It was the core of his foreign policy message.
I was against the Iraq War. So if he puts one of his most important selections, a guy who still thinks, one of the few people that still thinks invading Iraq and losing thousands and thousands of lives and trillions of dollars He still thinks that's a good idea when he eviscerated Jeb Bush for hesitating on this during the campaign. Then all Donald Trump's doing is playing right into his critics' hands. I think he needs to tell Sheldon Adelson, sorry. Listen, I love you, buddy, and I'll, play blackjack at a table out at your casino later, but I can't let you destroy U.S. foreign policy because you like this guy.
So just really before we go, one other announcement. Gary Cohn, the number 2 executive at Goldman Sachs, is going to be serving
Drain the swamp.
another Goldman guy.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the good news. The good news is Willie and I have been looking for a job at Goldman Sachs for a long time.
Well, now you're going to get it.
John Meacham, there are a lot of openings at Goldman Sachs since Donald Trump was elected president.
Very excited
Director of the
about that.
National Economic Council.
There was actually a headline in the Huffington Post, Hill, exactly that. A large number of job openings at Goldman Sachs.
I will say
Job creation.
I will
right
say
there.
about this guy, Gary Cohn, I've not talked to anybody that hasn't said he is extraordinarily capable. Of course, John Meacham goes against, again, the populist, obviously in a major way, populist manner, but again, goes back to sort of the Ike model. I'm going to get business people to run government.